My name is Roland Ries. I'm from Luan Machinery, and today I'd like to talk a bit about aluminium fabricating equipment. If you start with a new company, you probably got the intention to work hard and long hours to start up the business, and if you already got an established business and you got people working for you, you probably have a different approach. You have probably what you call a smart approach. You try to optimize your people, and you got to make sure that you got equipment which can be efficiently used so that you save on labor. If you start off a business, you're usually looking at economizing on the equipment you have to buy and save on rather buying cheaper equipment than equipment which is more expensive. But if you consider, for instance, this saw here, which is a brand new saw that sells for $3,990 with the clamps and everything, the saw blade on there, cuts very accurate, and if you look after it, you'll be using it for 20 or 30 years. If you compare that to a second-hand saw, which is a saw which has been in use probably for many years, that is a saw which will have issues sooner or later. When you try to work smarter, a very important piece of equipment which you probably have in your workshop is a copy router. If you look at copy routers, there are various things you have to consider which can make the operation efficient or which can waste a lot of time. This is a Luan copy router, and the features on this machine are you got a large template, so you don't need to do two cuts rather than one. You got two copy router pins, and that allows you to do a cut for lock in one operation rather than having to change templates or the setting of the pin a few times. On a copy router you also have to look at the height, cutting height. This one here is set down a bit. It needs to have enough height so that you can get your higher extrusions underneath and do your mortise cutouts. The other thing on a copy router, the other thing you need to consider on a copy router is a proper spray mist system. A lot of Luan equipment usually uses a spray mist system which is water based. And the reason for that is water is the best coolant you can get. So if you're using your cutter, the edges on the cutter stay usually sharper or longer than as if you use something else. A lot of other machines are using an oil-based cutting system, which actually uses the air for cooling the cutter. Now, air is not a really good cooling facility, and if you put enough air on it, you're really only wearing your compressor out. It is much easier to have a cutting system which utilizes water. The copy routers for aluminium use one flute cutters. That means that the tip of the cutter is not really in the center. So if you want to line up your markings on your extrusion, that's really a hard thing to do. And that's the reason why we developed a pin which we can put on here, and that one can be used to line it up exactly with your markings, and then you can adjust your pin and adjust the pin at the appropriate place. And then obviously we've got the standard pin which comes with the machine, and you put that in instead of the cutter. These one here are optional extras. You can buy them from us. And this one here is a special one that is used for a lot of the window or door systems, because it's got extra adjustment points. So you can use that for lining up your cutter on the end of the extrusion to do cutouts which go on the end. Or you can use this flat here is specifically designed so that you can go behind aluminium flanges or so. When you use the cutter, you can. This is the standard 5mm cutter. You use that when you got walls which are slightly thicker. That means you have to do a cut from both sides, that side and the other side. If it is standard material like this one, like this material here, which goes up to like 2mm or so, you can use a longer cutter, and rather than cutting one side and then turning around and cutting the other side, you can do what is called through cutting. That means you can punch, you cut this side first and then punch it through onto the other side. There's a lot of cutters there's a lot of copy routers which don't give you the ability to do this. So much for this, and I'll see you next time.